kHz. You are tuned to the Rajdhani channel of All India Radio Delhi. This is Delhi. The time now is just past 5:50 p.m. Please stand by for our next broadcast.
This is All India Radio. You will now hear comments from the press. The Indian Express, in its editorial titled The Day After, says India has acknowledged that an Indian Air Force pilot is missing in action. In a video released by Pakistan, the blindfolded person has identified himself to his captors as Wing Commander Abhinandan Vartman. India has lodged a protest at the acts of aggression by Pakistan on Wednesday, including the violation of the Indian airspace by the Pakistan Air Force and targeting of Indian military posts, and objected to Pakistan's vulgar display of an injured personnel of the Indian Air Force in violation of all norms of international humanitarian law and the Geneva Convention. It is imperative that Pakistan declare the IAF pilot a prisoner of war and apply the third treaty of the 1949 Geneva Convention. The convention, to which both India and Pakistan are signatories, decrees that combatants of one side taken captive by the other must be treated in a humane manner, should not be subjected to torture, their medical needs met, and they must be treated with dignity. Pakistan must return the IAF pilot home safely. But in the aftermath of the non-military preemptive strike at Balakot by India following the attack by Jaish-e-Mohammed in Pulwama, the missing pilot also casts a wider responsibility. He is a reminder that conflict between nations has a terrible human toll, that it is a price that is always too high to pay. It is a cost, moreover, that imposes a duty on all government, political leaders, media and civil society to speak carefully and act with sobriety. It needs to be recognized that the events over the last couple of days may be the beginning of a long haul, and that in these times every step has consequences. The aerial strike on terror by the Indian Air Force inside Pakistan has undoubtedly set a new course in relations between the two neighbors. But the way forward will need to be negotiated day by difficult day. So far, across party lines, India's political class has conducted itself with restraint. The same cannot be said, unfortunately, for studio warriors on television, where all too often an unseemly and immature warmongering is on display. If there was no room for triumphalism after the Indian operation, there is less room now for panic or for calls for escalation. India's TV warriors and those who raise the pitch from their perch in social media spaces must realize the obvious. It is all very well to talk up war and quite another to face its full impact. The Tribune, in its editorial titled Time for Diplomacy, says the events of the past few weeks have added another insalubrious chapter in the subcontinent's history. Pakistan, while claiming to offer the olive branch, also abetted the killing of over 40 paramilitary personnel in Pulwama in a suicide attack. Such a situation was unpalatable for any self-respecting nation. For over 3 years, the Modi government had drawn a red line on dialogues with Pakistan. It has been resisting talks till the terror issue was first put on the table. This, in diplomatic language, is like walking into a cul-de-sac, leaving no room for maneuvering, so essential in the world of interstate relations. This may have left South Bloc's practitioners of muscular statecraft little option but to deliver a riposte with military overtones. If statesmen do not retrieve the situation, both countries could well slide down the slope of an armed conflict, which will spell economic destitution for Pakistan and a relatively better but still unenviable situation for India. War is not an option for nuclear-armed neighbors, and those who start a war do not know how it will end. Narendra Modi and Imran Khan have often spoken past each other. Modi had reminded Khan about his assurance of being a man of his word, and Khan now needs to walk the talk. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj too has said India does not wish to see further escalation and will continue to act with responsibility and restraint. Friendly nations from the US to Russia and France have supported India, which can retain their empathy if it does not step up the escalation. The Hindu, in its editorial title Calming Arunachal, writes, the Bharatiya Janata Party-led government in Itanagar has decided not to act on the recommendations of a joint high-power committee granting permanent residence certificates (PRCs) to non-Arunachal Pradesh scheduled tribes of Namsai and Changlang districts. This decision follows violence in Itanagar, which included arson attacks on the residence of the Deputy Chief Minister. The government took his step to de-escalate tensions despite the fact that both mainstream parties, the Congress and the BJP, were on the same page on the demand to grant the PRCs. The non-APSTs include the Deoris, Sonowal Kacharis, Morans, Mishings, Adivasis and ex-servicemen belonging to the Gorkha community. Successive governments and members of these communities have said PRCs are needed to avail of job and educational opportunities elsewhere in the country, and currently the 26 tribes and numerous sub-tribes who claim to be native to Arunachal Pradesh enjoy this privilege. Members of some of the non-APST communities have been long-time residents of the reconstituted state, and to term them as outsiders reflects a chauvinistic mindset that denies just demand. Those were the comments from the press, presented to you by the News Services Division of All India Radio.